Hello, it's Nancy Johnson with Sunday's Best. You got to mind your business, and that's what we're going to talk about quickly tonight. So let me know if you can hear me, see me. Had to update my phone, and things are in different places, but I'm hoping that we get through this tonight. And my first question is, have you paid yourself? I know everybody is on the edge of the couch waiting to watch the Super Bowl. They're going to get paid. Whether they win or they lose, they're going to get paid. What about you? So, hey, Gloria Moore. I was just saying, Gloria, that everybody's on the tip edge of the couch waiting for the Super Bowl to come on. And they're going to get paid whether they win or lose. But that's not always the case with us. So my question is, have you paid yourself? Because it's very, very, very important. Sometimes your finance can be, when you grow to a certain age, can be just like the Super Bowl. It's that important, whether you're winning or you're losing, because you're not gaining any more time. You're as young as you're going to get when you're 65. You only go up from there, right? So, welcome. If this is your first time on Sunday's Best, don't make it your last. And Sunday's Best, we always try to tell people or share with people some money-making tips or a sign of the times. Money management is more of what we've been talking about lately, because the truth is, the problem isn't always how much we make, it's how we manage what we make. So with that being said, the purpose of Sunday's Best, again, is money management. Hello, Genevieve. And Genevieve has paid herself. Gloria Moore says, we're not going to gain any more time. Exactly. When the bell tone, when the clock ticks, that's it. It's over. It's over. All right. So happy Black History Month. We have a lot of people we can celebrate. Those that are superheroes, and those that are just in our community doing a good job. We need to let them know that we appreciate them. And some of the things that they do will help us to make history. And happy Valentine's Day, because by the time we meet again, you would have already celebrated your Valentine's. Hey, Vicki. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about, I know at church and other places, you're hearing a lot about people who have accomplished great things in life. But tonight we're going to talk about, the topic is how I got over. How I got over, and how we made ends meet back in the day. All right? So history is a telling of something that has passed, but you also get to make history in the present by something that you do. So we're going to talk about that. During the pandemic, a lot of people, we say how we got over. A lot of people wanted to open a business forever. A lot of people wanted to do a lot of things. And working from home, they were able to accomplish some of those things. Or not being able to go to work because of COVID, and then working from home allowed people to think about what it is that they are supposed to be doing. What were they brought to the universe to do? So you see on social media now, in hair salons, I mean, it's like a movie. They're showing you all these different styles, chemicals, makeovers, We didn't used to see that. Everybody's coaching you. They can show you how to make $10,000, $15,000 a month. Everybody is got a cooking show. The chefs are just showing off their skills. All of these are leading to potential moneymakers. So how we got over, how do we make ends meet? Going back to the old days, some of the same thing. People are using their skills, their God-given talents, their time is not being wasted on watching soap operas, but watching videos, watching YouTube, watching podcasts, watching webinars. They're on Zoom. They're learning, whether they're at home or not. Hey, Adron and Christine Shaw, thank you guys for jumping on. So, how we made it. How did we make ends meet back in the day? And like I said, during the pandemic and after the pandemic, you see so much on social media where people are entrepreneurs, meaning they are working for themselves and they are blossoming. A lot of people are doing a lot of great things. And so while it's Black History Month, entrepreneurs are creating jobs for themselves and for other people. They're innovators. They are coming up with new ideas. And the people that we are choosing to recognize today, they no doubt had something to push them in the direction of becoming inventors and entrepreneurs and just exploring their uniqueness. So let's talk about it. How did we get here? How did we make ends meet? Before and going back to the 60s. One thing for sure, in the 60s, people did work. They didn't get paid a lot, but they took care of the basics due to money management and a few other things that they did in the community. Back in the 60s, people pretty much operated off of cash, or if they had a running account at the grocery store where they could go pick up a few things until they got paid. But in the 60s, people didn't have as much debt as they have now. You may have had a house payment, maybe not. You may have had a car payment or maybe not. But you had your utilities, you had your daycare, you had your groceries, those things we always had. And back in the 60s, not did every married couple both work outside of the home, but they were able to make ends meet. How did they do that? Very few people had money to loan to other people, but they did bartering. One person could fix your car, and the other person may be able to do something else, but they bartered out their skills. We don't do that now. When was the last time, if ever, did you carpool with somebody to work because you only had one car and two people had to go to work? When was the last time? And Genevieve says, back in the 60s, lots of sacrifices, and people chose what was important. Exactly. That's my whole topic tonight, Genevieve. Yes, we made decisions. Money was managed better then. Better. I don't think people threw their money away. That's where mattress money came from. Mattress money. Envelopes were used. Jars were used. Jugs were used. Piggy banks. Who has a piggy bank now? Who saves? Well, don't tell me if you save money under your mattress, because I don't want nobody robbing you. But those were the ways. That's when it said, how did we manage? How we got over? And how did we make it? Over some of these things that I'm sharing tonight. Money was managed better. They had an envelope system. Or the women would put it in their bosom. All right? They knew that money was close to their heart, and they managed it. They just didn't go out shopping on emotional binges, go out shopping to get a new dress or a new pair of shoes every week. Every penny was counted for. You know, sometimes we move forward and we bring things with us. Other times we move forward and we need to leave some stuff behind us. We need to close some doors so some new doors can open. And if you're opening a new door with a bad habit, you're just going to be in another door in the same shape. All right? So back in the day, people would barter. And like Genevieve said, they would plan and they would sacrifice. You saved for a car. You saved for money for a down payment. You saved for a new mattress. You saved for a refrigerator. You didn't have a credit card to pull out and go charge it. And that's why so many of us are in debt right now, making a whole lot more money than our parents made, but they were in better shape because they didn't have the amount of debt that we have. Back in the day, your handshake, they might have wrote something on a piece of paper or on a calendar, but you could borrow money. We had almost like a community bank within the community, because you knew if you needed $100 or if you needed $50, there was somebody in that community that was the go-to person. And everybody knew that. They knew that person had a little bit more so that they could loan to other people. And most of the times they didn't charge you interest. Your handshake, your word was enough. That's how we got over. Because if we had to go to the bank, Gloria Moore can correct me on this, if we had to go to the bank and borrow money off of the money we made working in tobacco or picking cotton, and say I make $3 or $5 a day, the bank wasn't going to loan us any money. So it was good that we had our own banking system within our community. They knew who they could trust to loan money to, and we knew who we could go to when we were in need of money. And that was real important back in the 60s, because there was a lot of discrimination going on. And we had Christmas clubs, layaways. Have you heard those two things recently? Christmas clubs and layaways. I think Gloria Lukey, I don't know if she's on tonight, but I think she said she still does that. Gloria Moore said you wouldn't be getting a loan. And Gloria spent many years, she retired from banking. And so did Vivian. And so they know it was pretty hard. So Christmas clubs, green stamps. Who remembers the greenback stamps that you use? And who remembers getting the newspaper on Wednesdays? Hey, Martha Logan, getting that newspaper and looking for the best deal, especially on meat All right. But also back in the day, there was something called a susu, which was kind of like a circle of people putting in X amount of dollars, and then they did rotation. You would get all of the cash one time, somebody else would get it another time. And if I'm not mistaken, they have outlawed those. Some people may do them on a small scale, but I'm not sure they're legal. Genevieve says, yes, Christmas clubs are still going in some families. That's great. Gloria Moore said, I do, and we get a lot of great gifts. Got a lot of great gifts with green stamps. So that's how we got over. That's how we got over. That's how we made ends meet. So think about it. People were making little or nothing, but they were living. And most of them were living below their means, not above their means. It was only when they could get loans like that, they could get a credit card like that, they could get a car like that, did people start getting in over their heads. And that's when people were spending more than they were making, but they were making a ton of debt. So, two people working in a family, I don't know about you all, but how many of your fathers had a job outside the home, and your mother had a job outside the home? In a lot of cases, wives were still at home taking care of the children. And then when we grew and made progress, and say in Kingstree, a factory came to town and it employed more people. It was the best job most people in Williamsburg County had ever had in terms of pay, because it wasn't in the fields. It wasn't the crops. It wasn't in the coal. It was actually Baxter Laboratory making medical supplies, making gloves, making intravenous units for hospitals. I'm not sure what else they made, but I know they made those two. And a lot of people, the husband and wives, were able to get jobs. And I think they had 3 shifts. And so that's how, if you're from a small town like I am, you know about some of these things. People had big gardens. You could go get your collards, your cabbage, your cucumbers, your strawberries, your sweet potatoes, your white potatoes, your tomatoes, your okras, your beans, all of those things from the neighborhood, because you didn't go to town, or you just didn't have if you had a car, jumped in the car and went shopping to Piggly Wiggly or IGA 2 or 3 times a week. Most people didn't go downtown until Friday or Saturday. Part of that was buying what you needed, and the other part was your social hour to go walk down the streets and talk, because not everybody had a telephone, a home phone, and we certainly didn't have cell phones. All right? So the connections were made. Somebody may have had a lot of watermelons and they had a garden, but they didn't take the watermelons to sale. So somebody else would barter and say, I'll give you 100 watermelons. And that person loaded their truck, sold the watermelon, maybe paid the person who grew them, or took something, gave them tomatoes and cucumbers. So what I'm trying to say is, we didn't buy everything. So we didn't need as much money, because we worked together as a community. There were people who went to other people's home and got buckets of water to wash their clothes, or to put water in their refrigerator, because there was no running water. So that's how we made it. So in terms of a 2-paycheck family now, you got to manage your money properly. Back in the day, if a couple was married and they were working, or if there was a single mom, usually the grandmother kept the children. Now, can you imagine? The grandmother probably lived the next door or maybe in the same house. Can you imagine? Today, it's daycare is $600-700 per child. Per child. If you had an aging grandmother or grandparent that could keep your children, that could save you $1,200-1,400 a month for 2 children. All right? People are now considering co-living, co-inhabitant. So think about it. You have 2 children that are in daycare. You have 2, you say you and your brother, you both have apartments. They're running about $1,500 each. That right there is nearly $4,000 a month. But we got over on less than $400 a month because the babysitter lived with us or kept the child as part of helping family. They ate together. The grandmother who took care of the child probably also had dinner ready when the couple or the individual mother, single mother, came home from work. They probably carpooled together, or somebody got off and went and picked up the other person. We didn't have 2 cars, 3 cars per household. We didn't have TVs in every room, if we had a TV at all, in the 60s. So how we got over is, again, like Genevieve said, making better decisions and agreeing to sacrifice. All right? And one of the biggies is gardening, canning, whatever they do with the smokehouse, whatever you did with that, to cure your ham, get the sausage, get the everything. Everybody, it was a collaborative effort. Not just you and your kids, but you and your neighbors. When it was time to kill the hog and process and do all that good stuff, it was a project. People did it together. So you didn't come and help and leave empty-handed. You had some neck bone, you had chitlins, you had sausage meat, you had liver. And so you didn't, and if you grew your garden, you didn't have to go to the store and spend $300-400 on groceries. That's how we got over. Another way we got over, and this is speaking to our skills, mothers sewed not only their children's clothing, but spreads and blankets and curtains and little scarves for the dresser. When a button came off, they didn't just throw it away. They had a needle and thread, and they put that button back on that garment. And you didn't go get all new school clothes. You were fortunate, extremely fortunate. If the first 3 days of school, you had a new outfit for every day. Because you know what usually happened? You got some hand-me-downs. And then if you were really blessed, somebody from the north was looking out for you and your child, and they would send you clothing from there. Gloria Moore says, I'm still making ends meet in retirement. I shop on Wednesdays at Publix when they have the buy one, get one free, I use coupons. Very, very, very good. Never forget where you came from or what you did or how you got over when you were there. Okay? Again, families made loans to other families, so you were borrowing from a can or from under a mattress. One person told me they were telling someone they needed a loan, and they never thought that this person could go and pull out $10,000 and count it out to them. They had learned early in life how to save well. They were well in their 70s or 80s, but they had the money. And when you don't have to pay for everything, and you know how to work together as a community, like what I'm sharing these things with you, and if you know how to use your talents to solve a problem, people always want alterations. People always want something different that a seamstress can do for them. And that is a very good skill to have. And if you've got a creative mind, it's even the better. Ladies didn't used to make men's suits, but now that is a specialty. And people are making hats, especially the cowboy hats now. People are making purses. We're just using our skills. And I tell you, if you are deep in debt and you want to get out of debt, you have to think outside the box, as these people did. Talents, and your skills, and a little sacrifice, not me and mine and you get yours, but working together. That's how our people are us. That's how we made it. All right. Let's see. I got a couple more. So if we want to talk about the wealth gap, or where we are and where we want to be, we have to think, are there some things that I can take forward to help me? Or are there some things I need to just take out of the equation? Because I'm telling you, your children may be adults, or you grow them up to be good adults, but you cannot depend on them to take care of you in your older age. Because guess what? If you didn't know money management, or if you taught it and they didn't receive it, or they were never taught money management because you weren't, they're struggling too. So they can't take care of you and take care of their own household. So you got to prepare and you got to shift. Those are just some of the things that I wanted to mention. And I'm going to take the last 10 minutes, because it's right at 7:30 now, and ask this question. How did you get over? How are you making ends meet? Does it bother you to be called cheap? Does it bother you to be called cheap? What is considered cheap is the question. Is cheap thinking before you buy impulsively? Is that considered cheap? Is cheap managing your money in your mind, but actually just spending it like you want to without prioritizing? Is that cheap? Is cheap being wise? Or is cheap knowing, is a person considered cheap because they seek wise counsel? Just a question. What is cheap? And is it okay? Do you mind being called cheap? What is the difference between being thrifty and being cheap? Can you wear something that's at a consignment store and save yourself $100. I'm just asking, if you shop at a thrift store or consignment shop and you're called cheap, are you okay with that? Because you're making ends meet. You're stretching your dollar. You're managing your money. Maturity with money looks very different. If you're mature and you use your money different than most people, you're considered cheap. Is it okay? It's fine by me. Don't allow your stress and emotions or a bad day to control your bank account. Don't spend out of control, wrecking your bank account because you're having a bad day. That's emotional spending. And cheap people who are labeled as cheap, they don't do it that way. Sometimes they'll ride around with the money in their pocket saying, I might get a better deal, or let me see if I can make this work, before they spend it. They may eventually spend it, but meantime, they got that label on them. They're cheap. Don't allow your money to rule you. You know money will take over. Don't allow your money to rule you. You're in charge. And if you want to be in charge, make ends meet, and you want to be cheap, don't worry about it. If they can't put that label on you, they'll put another one on you. So just don't worry about it. Does it bother you to be called cheap when it seems like you're finally getting out of the hole? Don't let it bother you. What other people do, what other people think, stay in your lane. Stick to your plan if it's working for you. And lastly, being called cheap is perhaps the preparation for a better life that you've been wanting and desiring and should have and could have for you and your family. So it's okay to be called cheap, frugal, a person that holds on to their money. It's okay. Gloria says, I bought a brand new gown from a consignment shop valued at $249 for $49. I'll be called cheap all day long, she says. So you know when you decide to do something, don't be derailed by what other people think. They're out there playing the Super Bowl, and you gotta put yourself in a super mode. They're gonna get paid win or lose, and Victoria Brock says cheap is okay. Yes, Vicky, cheap is okay. Hey, Queen Elizabeth Gamble. Thank you for jumping on. So that's what I have. So if you got somebody waiting to watch the game with, go watch the game. And I hope your favorite team wins. And you know what? Put up your dollar sign, because guess what? They're going to make millions tonight. Whether you watch them or whether you don't. The money's already made. But guess what? It's not yours to manage. You got to make your own. You got to work for your own. Then you got to handle it right, manage it right. Then you can be Superwoman or Superman in your own rights. But putting everything on the line, I started not to do Sunday's Best tonight, but I usually reserve that for if I'm traveling. I may not do it. But you know what I said? I said, whoever it's for, they'll get it. Those that have already made commitments, I understand that. But excuses don't excuse, and procrastination just delays it doesn't make you a winner. So to all of you, again, happy Black History Month and happy Valentine's. Enjoy your week. Have $1 million life. Good night.